Off and running on a Tuesday evening. Count them, 5 auto bids going to be punched tonight. That gentleman right there is Jonathan Von Tobel. I am Tim Murray. We got a championship here in town tonight, I should say, with Gonzaga and St. Mary's. I will be there, fired up. Never been to the Orleans for a basketball event. Have you been to the West Coast Conference Tournament?
Oh, yeah, plenty of times. Awesome spot. Very intimate. Very Gonzaga supporter heavy, so maybe that's something to look forward to, too. We talked about this yesterday, Jared and I, threw out that because the market was really moving in Gonzaga's direction in that second half, rightfully so.
Woo, buddy.
But that maybe the market was factoring in a small home court advantage because the number had actually mirrored the number with Gonzaga at home against San Francisco, so might be the case here, but you'll see. It is kind of, where are they from?
Spokane South,
yeah, so
right?
Spokane South.
You're looking forward to it. Yeah, that second half that you alluded to, Gonzaga last night put up 51 in the second half, and Ben Gregg could not miss from 3 in the second half as he finished up the game with 17 points. They did a good job, I guess, San Francisco, of taking away Graham Ike, and Gonzaga said, all right, we'll just rain threes on you, and that's exactly what happened. So very much looking forward to a showdown here in Las Vegas, the game that I think everybody anticipated to come to fruition, Gonzaga and St. Mary's, a pair of top 25 teams. I mean, the funny thing was, JVT, 3 weeks ago, before Gonzaga went to Kentucky and won at Rupp to get their first quad one victory of the year, there was a belief, and it wasn't wrong, that Gonzaga would have to win the West Coast Conference Tournament in order to get into the NCAA tournament. They have not missed the NCAA tournament, Gonzaga, in this century. Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. Gonzaga's in, and as is their opponent, St. Mary's. Right now, bracket matrix, you're looking at Gonzaga on the 7 line and St. Mary's on the 8 line, and a win tonight. Obviously, a quad one win for either one of these teams, so maybe a bump in their seeding for the winner tonight. But both these teams securely in the field of 68, JVT, but should be a fun one. They split the regular season series. The home team lost both of their respective games as well.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like, and this is generally the direction that I usually take, which is, I get Gonzaga and the form that they're in. Yeah, St. Mary's ain't in terrible form either, right? Their only loss since December 23rd is to this Gonzaga team. They were rolling through the West Coast Conference and in fact, finished 15-1. So on a neutral, and again, we'll call it like a faux neutral because the support is very strong for Gonzaga. To put this at a full 3, I'm very interested to see what the market's going to do here because we're talking about at DraftKings, it's shaded to the 3, to the favored side. So if you're talking like 3.5, if it continues to climb in Gonzaga's direction, I'd be very interested in some Gales tonight because I think we're forgetting how good this team can be, especially defensively when they're able to dictate their tempo and their pace. And by the way, in we'll say faraway places, 3.5s are starting to show. So we'll see where this gets to by the time we get to tip off tonight.
We will get to this game in best bets. I have another angle to look at in this game as well. And in the futures market. But looking forward to that game starting at around 9 o'clock. Hopefully, we could push it back as late as possible. Powers that be at the Orleans, if you could push this to like 9:15 Eastern, 6:15, that'd be nice. Because what? I'd be a 15-minute drive, 20-minute drive?
Oh, no.
30?
20, 25. Because remember, you got to go all the way across. And you're talking about the 15, rush hour. Come on now.
Come on. Just hoping, man. Just hoping to get there. Also, auto bids to be handed out in the Horizon League. We will talk about that game in particular because of the future that I have on Milwaukee as they head in to take on the Oakland Grizzlies. That game taking place in Indianapolis. The Coastal Athletic Association, formerly the Colonial Athletic Association, got Stony Brook catching 10 against College of Charleston in that one. The surprise of the Summit League, Denver, the Pioneers, they are taking on South Dakota State. And they are also a 10-point dog. And not to be forgotten, in the worst conference in college basketball, the Northeast Conference, Merrimack, a 7.5-point favorite tonight against Wagner. So 5 conference championship games, JVT, to hit on here in college hoops. NBA-wise, 7 games on the slate. And your Los Angeles Clippers get the Minnesota Timberwolves here this evening. Pretty solid late-night slate with Minnesota at L.A., Milwaukee's visiting Sacramento, and if you want to throw in the NBA's best team, on the road in Utah. So all these games will start after our show concludes, but some interesting ones here tonight in the association.
Yeah, the problem is, so the schedule's become so compact, and I brought this up to Jared yesterday, so hunting around for scheduling spots is really a big name of the game here post-All-Star break. And yesterday, too, by the way, Cleveland in a negative scheduling spot fell apart, and at the very least got lucky. If you got the right number there with Phoenix, you got a push, landed right on 6. But questionables abound in almost every single game. For the one that you mentioned between Minnesota and L.A., Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Monty Morris, Kyle Anderson, 4 players for the Minnesota Timberwolves, 2 starters, 2 key bench players listed as questionable. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard listed as questionable for the Los Angeles Clippers. So this is one where information is key. Now, I will say, you can try to read between the lines and look at the Clippers and go, well, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard were questionable with the exact same injuries over the weekend when they played less than 24 hours after a game, and they ended up sitting against the Milwaukee Bucks. More than likely, they're both going to play today. But, Tim, I have been burned many a time with that same line of thinking, and then going out and betting a team that ultimately links 6.5 with a team that closes like 3.5. So I would say you want that confirmation. And on the other end, Minnesota is going through it. A lot of injuries that they're dealing with. I think there is more of a shot that a couple of these guys end up not playing, just given the compact nature of their schedule and how busy they've been. And, of course, they want to make sure that they're healthy. They already lost Karl-Anthony Towns, but we'll see if that's going to be it. But right now, you've got 6 key guys that can affect the point spread, all listed as questionable for this game between Minnesota and LA.
Vaughn Dalzell going to join us in hour number 2. We'll get a QB breakdown with Mike Sanford in the third hour, and then we'll go in depth on a couple of the conference championships that start later on this evening. I love looking up JVT and seeing live hoops going on right now, and that's what we've got. This is one of the more head on a swivel types of week. People think it's next week. It's really this week. We've got the Atlantic 10 Conference going on right now. The ACC's going on right now. Now, some of these teams, maybe not the greatest of
I was gonna say,
the greatest form.
My head will be on a swivel tomorrow.
That's a good point. Yeah, maybe not. We got to figure out. Also, we got a little business to get to, JVT, because we got to figure out how we're gonna carve up our competition here for these conference tournaments. That's
Britain's job. I don't know what's going on here.
Some crazy. It's pretty simple, he says in our ear. So we'll get into the rules of that a little bit later on, but free agency is underway, and maybe the biggest name most recently to surface is what we expected to happen. The Baltimore Ravens, JVT, are expected to sign Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry, the former Tennessee Titan, on the move to the Baltimore Ravens. I'm sure you hit on it a lot yesterday, but you look at the running back market and the movement. Notable names in new places: Josh Jacobs to the Green Bay Packers, Saquon Barkley to the Philadelphia Eagles, Tony Pollard to the Titans, DeAndre Swift to the Bears, Devin Singletary to the Giants, Derrick Henry now 2-year deal to the Baltimore Ravens, Antonio Gibson goes to the Patriots, Austin Eckler to the Commanders, Zach Moss to the Bengals, Aaron Jones, that came out this morning, headed to the Vikings. Which one of these, or ones of these, because we know the nature of the running back position, we know what it means ultimately for the betting market on a week-to-week basis, but is there a player or two, JVT, to you that moves the needle from a standpoint of, wow, they just significantly got better at that position, and would it tempt you to throw in futures on them?
So in terms of like that conversation, I would say the only one that is obviously there is Kirk Cousins. I espoused my love for Kirk Cousins yesterday. I do think that if you're getting 31 or better on the Atlanta Falcons to win the Super Bowl, I think that's worth it. You're an odds-on favorite to win your division. You more than likely, there's probabilities would tell us at this point right now, you're going to have a home game in the postseason, and who knows what you do with your schedule, and then you can go on from there and potentially have 2 home games in a postseason and make a run in an NFC that is top-heavy, and then outside of the top 2, maybe 3 teams, you can make a little bit of a run. In terms of the running backs, the 2 that really stick out now that we've had a couple of bodies move around here, I'll give you 2, one big name and one small name. The small name, and this is going to come across as, somewhat biased, Zach Moss had a really good year for the Indianapolis Colts last season. He had 793 yards, 5 touchdowns, all career highs. He was very, very good at forcing missed tackles, was awesome, was out there for the Indianapolis Colts, very effective in the time in which Jonathan Taylor was out. for the Bengals to go and get Zach Moss and flip Joe Mixon at a really cheap deal, 2 years, $8 million, I think that's awesome because Moss is one of the, this is the quintessential thing that you do with your running back position now. Flip the name for a guy that's on the rise here, only in his 5th year in the National Football League. Play him cheap and see if you can get a lot out of him. And an offense that really isn't going to, I think, lean on the running game a ton. And then the other is, it's hard not to like Derrick Henry to the Baltimore Ravens. It's really hard not to. The guy has been phenomenal. Last year, again, we're talking about 2023. This guy's got 2,400 snaps to his name, and yet still, PFF offensive grade of 90.2, a rushing grade of 86.8, 12 touchdowns in 2023, 1,100 yards. The guy has been so effective, and this is going to open up so much more with a threat like Lamar Jackson next to him. Those are the two running backs that I think that I like the most. I know we had Saquon Barkley move, and we had all these other big names, but Zach Moss to Cincinnati and Derrick Henry to Baltimore, the two at the top of my list that I thought stuck out the most in terms of these running backs moving around.
I think the Derrick Henry move by the Baltimore Ravens is phenomenal, and it's low risk, high reward, and he's had to carry the weight. I mean, he won that team playoff games, and now he's got the 2-time MVP as his quarterback, and who knows when Keaton Mitchell will come back with the torn ACL, but you remember the explosiveness that you saw from the rookie out of East Carolina last year, JVT. Let's hope he gets back with that similar type of burst. What does that backfield look like? So I think the addition there for the Baltimore Ravens with Derrick Henry, when you think about what they had last year with Zay Flowers emerging, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, that is quite the coup, in my opinion, for the Baltimore Ravens. That's JVT. I'm Tim Murray. What did a free agent quarterback signing mean for the NFL draft market? We'll hit on that next.
This is VSiN PrimeTime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Man, I think this is the best offer that we have had in a while. If you are a little skittish on wanting to check out a VSiN Pro subscription, we're going to give you one for free for the entire week. That's right. Opt in over at VSiN.com/champweek, and you can get a VSiN Pro sub through Selection Sunday. Check out everything we have to offer. Find out if you want a VSiN Pro subscription. All you got to do is check out VSiN.com/champweek. Get access to the picks, the full betting splits data from DraftKings, unlimited access to all of our pro articles in every single sport, every single day. Conference Championship Hub is beautiful. Check it all out now. Free VSiN Pro subscription. VSiN.com/champweek.
That's JVT. I'm Tim Murray. For those of you listening on many of our fine terrestrial affiliates across this country or for free on VSiN.com or on our app, we will be going live on YouTube so you can see these lovely faces coming up at the bottom of the hour. We will be doing this moving forward every single day from 6:30 to 7 Eastern live on YouTube for free. So we will
a lot of free things, huh?
Send out the link. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's like Christmas in March. That's what it is. So a question has been filed into the old Twitter sphere, and we will answer that, and I'll see what JVT's suggestion will be regarding a future that was handed out last week. All right, you mentioned something during the break.
Ooh.
And you didn't, I don't think you knew I was going this way, but
I saw you tweeted out.
JP Finley, friend of the program, Commanders insider for NBC 4 in Washington, D.C., also hosts a radio show in the D.C. area. He tweeted out after the Commanders signed Marcus Mariota to a 1-year deal to what I imagine to be their backup quarterback or start as a place filler until Jaden Daniels or Drake May or whoever is ready to be the starter. But JP Finley tweeted out, signing Mariota sure seems like a sign Washington is leaning towards Jaden Daniels. Now, from the betting market perspective, we talked about this last week, JVT. The betting market has been moving that way for a couple weeks now, where Jaden Daniels is now the favorite to be selected with the number 2 overall pick. He is minus 115 at DraftKings, and Drake May has moved to minus 105. That's been a slow move these past couple of weeks. And then last week, Jaden Daniels was the favorite to go to Washington, but around plus 140. And he, as of today, was at plus 110, and the Patriots were at plus 175. So I'm curious your thoughts on the hot takery I don't know if it's hot takery, the assumption that the signing of Marcus Mariota is leading to the decision that Jaden Daniels will be the selection at 2.
Okay, so that's where I'm kind of lost. Why is that a sign? Is it the friend? I saw like some on social media were at the board connecting the dots, like, if they were going to draft Drake May, then I guess they keep Sam Howell and they can be friends. And I don't know, unless I can understand more of a dynamic of, hey, Marcus Mariota's like athletic and you know what I mean?
I didn't get the friend thing. I thought it was more his style is more similar to Jaden Daniels' style, which I can, and we could talk to Mike Sanford a little bit.
That.
I get that, but also Drake May's not Kirk Cousins.
Correct.
Like, Drake May's athletic. He gets out, he can move, he can be off script. Now, Jaden Daniels is a more explosive runner.
Right.
So if you believe that Marcus Mariota, who was the backup for Jalen Hurts a year ago, is coming to Washington because they believe he is going to have a similar skill set to Jaden Daniels, I thought that's what people were assuming, but you believe it was because
I saw it. Like, I saw
the North Carolina tie.
Yeah, like I saw that
they
connection.
They were at the UNC game together.
Right. Like I was like, I think we're getting a little ridiculous here. It took me back to us breaking down the Zep Ruder audio of Josh McCown telling CJ Stroud that they would play pickup basketball in Carolina.
When he gets to town? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like it's getting ridiculous the way we handle these things. So I think I buy in more of that. Like if you're making the argument, hey, Mariota's kind of an athlete, the offense, you want somebody like that. Jaden Daniels, explosive runner, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I kind of get it. Outside of that,
by the way, I just think it's hilarious that is Marcus Mariota really going to be some dude's mentor? This is the same Marcus Mariota that when he got told in Atlanta, hey, we're going to Desmond Ritter.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I'm out. I got a knee procedure. Peace. Yeah. And now he's changed, and he's gonna be this great mentor.
I mean, Desmond Ritter wasn't particularly good, and
he wasn't wrong.
At one point, Mariota was leading a pretty good offense, so maybe that was it. So I personally don't think that this is really much of a sign that the Washington Commanders are tipping their hand.
I think what's more a sign is what we talked about last week when Ben Standig of The Athletic, who covers the Commanders and the league, also said post-combine that most of the insiders from within the league believe that there is a lean, not a stamp, definitely Jaden Daniels, but there is a lean more towards Daniels.
Sure.
I still think they're doing their homework. I don't think Washington has decided, nor should they. On March 12th, they have 6 weeks. They should not know what they're going to do at 2 yet.
Absolutely. And we see this all the time. Mac Jones was supposed to be a San Francisco 49er until he wasn't. Will Levis was supposed to be a top 15 pick until he wasn't. So I don't think we're reading too much into what you're looking at. I think you can generally, when you look at other stuff in free agency, so we talked about this when you weren't here yesterday, but do teams kind of tip their hand when they don't address certain positions? Like if they're not going to sign a wide receiver, but they need one, or an offensive tackle. Yeah, sure, you could probably get that sense. But in terms of who specifically they're going to go after, you don't really get that sense from what you're talking about when looking at free agency moves. So I don't think this is a sign in any way, shape, or form. The market's been steadily heading in Jaden Daniels' direction. We've been talking about this now for a month until the report comes out that he's sliding, and then it'll move back. We see it every single year. And by the way, I'm not really pushing back on Daniels going too. I just think at this point right now, if you're making any declarative statements like you mentioned on March 12th, when some of these teams don't even know who they want yet, I think that's where you're getting into some gray area. And I don't think they're showing their hand by signing Marcus Mariota and getting rid of the North Carolina buddy tandem that could be there, I guess. Or something.
So I tweeted this out this morning on the odds, right? The odds this morning, Jaden Daniels was minus 115 to go number 2. Drake May was minus 105. And this is the beauty of draft betting, if you are patient, if you're looking to pick off numbers, because it's now minus 145. We have it updated there. So I hadn't seen the updated odds in the past 6-7 hours. Jaden Daniels has moved 30 cents more towards number 2. So Drake May at plus 125. And honestly, folks, I think it's going to keep moving that way. Mm-hmm. So if you had picked off Jaden Daniels earlier in the process, you've got a real good opportunity to get Drake May. I wouldn't bet it yet because I think it's going to keep moving that way. And then for him to go to Washington is minus 130, Jaden Daniels, And for the Patriots to select Jaden Daniels is now plus 150. So it's just been that steady move towards that way. I don't think anything's set in stone yet. Once again, if I had to do a mock draft today, it would still be Jaden Daniels. It's been that way for the past couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. I thought that was just before we even had kind of information coming in. We hadn't staff hasn't been assembled yet, but I just felt like Jaden Daniels was going to be more of the sexier pick. And then once they hired Cliff Kingsbury to be the offensive coordinator, it made more sense. That all being said, I wouldn't be stunned if it's Drake May.
No, not at all. I'll take you back to the 2020 draft. Remember the week, 2 weeks leading up to the 2020 draft, what did we hear? Dolphins, they've got Justin Herbert above Tua Tagovailoa on their board. They like him better. Mm-hmm. This is the guy that they want. And then what happened? Tua Tagovailoa got drafted 5th overall by the Miami Dolphins. So again, this happens all of the time. And if you played this right, if we've talked about, Jaden Daniels at a plus price of 2, come back, grab Drake May, boom, you're sitting fine. You're going to go in, and either way, it's going to work. Right now, sit back and wait for the price to grow on Drake May, because at this point right now, the way that this thing's heading, the rumors are only going to grow stronger that it's going to be Jaden Daniels until, of course, a little bit later when maybe we get some pro days and whatnot, and then things happen from there. But again, at this point right now, these teams outside of Chicago don't know what they want to do yet. And I think that's why you get some of this chatter, because you get people calling, they want nuggets, they want things to report, they want all of these sort of things. And a lot of the times what I like too, Tim, is when you should read some of the reports, it's talking to league executives that aren't actually with the team.
Right.
Well, then how do they know? How do they know what's going on here? So still obviously plenty of time to talk about this ad nauseum. But
look, and here's the thing. And we're going to talk a lot of draft on this show.
Hopefully other positions at some point.
Last year, and I got hoodwinked. I got bamboozled. I put myself in this spider web, and I ended up losing a lot.
Led astray.
Because C.J. Stroud, we were told, Houston doesn't like him.
Ready?
They don't like him.
Yep.
They don't like him. He's not. They don't think he's that high. And then what happened draft day? We're looking at the board. We were live on the air, and I'm just looking at it, and it's just skyrocketing the other way. I'm like, C.J. Stroud's going to go 2 to Houston. Oh, didn't see that one coming. So there hasn't really been any reports. This movement today, while it may end up being accurate, the movement, JVT, it's because Marcus Mariota got signed by the Commanders. Best bets, we're live on YouTube, and what to do with a conference future that comes to roost tonight.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
With so many bottles to choose from, it's easy to find your favorite, all at the lowest prices for over 30 years. Find what you love and love what you find at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly. Be 21.
Alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, I am Tim Murray. Hello, YouTube. Live streaming here for the next 30 minutes. Apparently, we've been streaming all hour. So, by the way, head over to our VSiN YouTube page, youtube.com/@VSiNLive/streams. And you can click us. And
I'm at youtube.com/watch $U-DM3NEIMJG. Check that out.
All right. Before we get to our best bets, last week we were previewing some of the smaller conferences out there, and we had a couple different guests. Justin Perry, shouts to Justin over at Shot Quality, as he led us in the right direction of Morehead State. I believe Stuckey came on the network and gave us Lehigh at 12-1. They're playing for the conference championship tomorrow in the Patriot League against Colgate. And a long shot that I liked was Milwaukee, the Panthers. And they almost lost in the first round to Detroit. And now they've gotten hot. They won last night over Northern Kentucky, 22-1. Headed into tonight, they are a 4-point dog to Oakland, JVT. The question, and this was asked to me on Twitter from Shane. Hello, Shane. He said, tailed you on Milwaukee. Well, thank you. Cleveland State and Northern Kentucky. I didn't bet those two. But are you hedging tonight?
Just take the credit.
Or see how it starts and plays out? JVT, you have some strong feelings on what I should do here.
You want to read my text? that I sent you today?
I was driving. Hold on.
Okay, good. You did not read the text while you were driving. It's a very smart thing to do.
Yeah. Jonathan Von Tobel asked us in our group text, Tim, did you hedge like a coward?
There we go.
So I have 28 minutes to decide. 22-1 future. This was a half unit play that I threw out there on Milwaukee. So it'd be nice. Bring home 11 units. It'd be nice. I could put in a full unit. Well, I'm trying to do the math here. It's minus 180.
Why did you bet Milwaukee?
I believe they can win this tournament.
Okay. Well, here they are in the final. You leave.
You are the anti-Mike Palm.
I'm not. So look, trust me. I will say this. I'm a let it ride kind of guy for the most part. Although I did hedge like a coward with my Texas Rangers World Series future last year at 20-1. But 2 years ago, how long is time melts? I had a Celtics ticket at like 66-1 to win the NBA Finals. I didn't hedge. I lost that bad boy. I watched it go away.
Would you hedge now?
No. Let's go, man. You're in this, you're here for a reason. You bet that thing, right? You bet it because you wanted and you thought that Milwaukee could legitimately win this thing. Here they are. It's only a 4-point spread, my friend. Let it ride. Let's go.
Isn't the goal of sports betting to win money?
Yeah. So when Milwaukee wins, you're going to win some money.
Or if I hedged, I'd win money both ways.
Hedge is always.
I let it ride. I thought about hedging last night. And against Northern Kentucky, and they went down 10 early, and I'm like, well, we had a fun run, Milwaukee.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, I'll try to give you an answer.
Milwaukee wins, you don't hedge.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put it this way.
I'm dancing on this table.
You going to Barry's, or you going to Applebee's?
Going to Barry's.
Okay. Let it ride, man.
What do you think? What do you think, people?
Everybody always wants to hedge. Everybody always wants to do this, man. It's 22-1. You bet it for a reason. You thought they could win. Let's go. I am personally, and hedging's a personal thing, so it's always up to you, whatever it is. I'm just going to try to pressure you so that when they lose, then you can send me an angry text.
I've already got the text ready to go.
But I'm always of the mindset, you bet it for a reason because you thought that there was a chance that they could win this, a better chance than what the market said. And here you are. They are in the final. You were correct almost every step of the way. Now, why let it die? Let's go. Now, Britton had a good point, our producer of the year. If you want to just get the bet back, that works too. But let it ride. Let's go.
I think what I'm going to do.
I've got a text saved already when they do win. So, we probably don't have to text each other because this game's probably going to be over by the time the show's over.
That's true. And don't worry, we'll be sweating this on air because it starts at 7 o'clock Eastern.
I've got nothing.
That's true. You didn't even tell me? Kind of good co-host are you? I gave you this passionate plea on Milwaukee at 22-1.
Sounded great. And you know what my thought was? I've never watched Milwaukee Panthers basketball, so I'm not going to put my money on this thing. But it sounded great.
No blind faith. Kind of co-host are you? All right, I got 25 minutes to decide. You let me know. At one Tim Murray, at me JVT. All right, that being said, let's get to bets for tonight. Milwaukee Oakland is on the card. One of 5 conference championships that will be handed out. I do have a play a little bit later on in the evening. We'll get to that momentarily. But JVT, what do you got on the card this evening, sir?
I didn't really like anything that much today. And the market's moving slightly against me. It looks like Jalen Williams is not going to play today. We'll see if that's going to be the case, although he was at shoot-around today. Laid 6 with the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're down to 5.5 against the Indiana Pacers. Look, Indiana has not really improved that much defensively since Pascal Siakam has been there with the team. That is going to continue here against Oklahoma City. Indiana also does not have Benedict Mathurin. He is out, so that is going to be something that works against them. And there's nobody that you're going to be able to throw here on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which you're going to feel comfortable defensively, possession to possession. On the flip side, you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you have Lou Dort, you got multiple guys that you could throw at Tyrese Halliburton and the rest of this backcourt to feel somewhat comfortable there, and you still can take advantage of this team. Scheduling spots a little bit more beneficial for Oklahoma City. Both teams are equal in terms of rest, but travel day in between for the Indiana Pacers. They were in Orlando on Sunday, had to come here to Oklahoma City. Not the most arduous travel, but Oklahoma City, this is the 3rd or 4th game of a homestand, so they've been home, they've been practicing, they've been comfortable. Even without Jalen Williams, if he doesn't end up playing here, I think that the Oklahoma City Thunder in a pretty good spot. And then from a numbers standpoint, Tim, right now, even if we're talking about Williams not potentially playing, and again, my most recent injury report has him as questionable, I've got home court worth about 2.5. So that would put us down to about like a flat 3 or so on a neutral between these two. I think that gap is much wider. So, and that's with the Williams injury considered. So all this put together, give me the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight, laying it.
All right. Oklahoma City Thunder, that is the play for JVT against the Indiana Pacers. Lay in, 5.5?
I laid 6. So, yeah, obviously I would say 5.5 is a good number.
All right, I'm going to go to the game that I am going to be attending. Now, full disclosure, I am mad at myself because when this tournament, the West Coast Conference tournament, was announced, or when the bracket came out, it's been announced for many years. It always goes to the Orleans. Yeah. I wanted to take Gonzaga. There was an early plus price. That quickly evaporated. Then it was minus 115, minus 110, minus 115. Didn't get any of those numbers. So last night I'm sitting there, I'm watching the Gonzaga game. St. Mary's, I thought, looked the part, very much so against Santa Clara. And I had an expectation that Gonzaga would open a decent-sized favorite. They opened 3.5, some buyback down to St. Mary's. Now you're seeing some resistance back to St. Mary's. Look, I was hoping last night, JVT, when Gonzaga went into the locker rooms up 38-37, I'm like, just win by 1. Let's get this thing a little suppressed. Let's get a little Gale love. Not the case. Gonzaga could not miss water if they fell out of a boat last night. So you're getting Gonzaga at its peak, which you kind of alluded to a little bit earlier in the show. That said, I love the form that Gonzaga is in. And I do like where St. Mary's is in. If you look at Bart Torvik, which, by the way, it's really a great way to help out your argument with the fact that you can filter different dates. Sure. But since Gonzaga lost that game to St. Mary's on February 3rd, it was a Saturday night at the Kennel. St. Mary's went in as a dog, and they won that game outright. I think the spread was 3.5, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 4.5. Since then, Gonzaga is the 9th best team in the country. However, St. Mary's is the 16th best team in the country. St. Mary's has been playing fantastic basketball. Their only loss coming in Moraga against Gonzaga. I love the form that Gonzaga's in. I do think maybe an in-game angle is a way to look, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to play 2 bets here tonight because I think Gonzaga wins. Cheapest money line price at Circa and a couple other shops is minus 155. So we're going to lay minus 155 on the money line with Gonzaga. But I'm also going to take Gonzaga to make the Final Four at 14-1. Our previous friendship future doesn't look awesome.
You know that gif with the orangutan with like the the oxygen mask on and everything? Yeah, like that's New Mexico right now.
That was New Mexico 17-1. We got a little excited on our first official show together, and
still alive.
Yeah, they could make the tournament. They're playing on Wednesday here in town.
I have some hope, man.
But I'm going to take a 14-1 flyer. I think DraftKings has it at 12-1, but BetMGM has Gonzaga at 14-1. If they win tonight, which I believe they will, I think that number goes down a little bit. So Gonzaga to make the Final Four. Gonzaga to win tonight, minus 155. West Coast Conference Championship, one of 5 conference championships tonight. So that's my bet. JVT is on Oklahoma City. He's going to lay the chalk, the 5.5. I'm going to lay the money line price with the Zags and also take a future on the Zags to keep it rolling, baby, and make a run to the Final Four at 14-1. We continue to look at the NBA and college hoops card next here on VSiN PrimeTime.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This week on DraftKings Sportsbook, new customers can bet just $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code VSiN. That's VSIN when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours.
5 conference championships will be handed out tonight. 5 auto bids, even though West Coast Conference, 2 teams playing, will both be playing in the NCAA tournament. By the way, quick programming note while we're live here on YouTube. Hello. JVT and I will be doing a special on Selection Sunday. Bracket will be revealed around 6 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah, what time are we on?
Network television. We'll hit the air at 7 o'clock, and we will have our thoughts and be joined by others. So make sure you put that in your calendar We will have some instant reaction to the bracket. We'll have lines out as they come out. I would imagine DraftKings, they do a pretty good job of getting those lines out rather quickly, JVT. So hopefully we will have some reaction, some instant bets, and we will be doing that for 3 hours on Sunday evening. So 7 o'clock to 10 p.m. Eastern time here on VSiN.
That's news to me.
Us two knuckleheads. That's not true. It was on the schedule. Check the schedule. Our boss was just in here. You don't see his. You don't look at his email.
I'm very excited to do it.
Yeah,
very excited.
Looking forward to it. Will it be Oakland or Milwaukee? I don't know. We'll find out. All right. Let's make a run through the NBA card. Philadelphia at New York. Right now, that line sits at New York laying 6. Washington, Memphis. Don't know if we need to talk about Washington, Memphis, but it's on there. Indiana, Oklahoma City is one of your best bets, JVT. So run us through the NBA card here tonight.
Yeah, well, let's get the easy one out of the way first. Jaren Jackson Jr., Vince Williams are not going to play today for Memphis. How about this? The Wizards are going to be essentially without a center today, so that's always fun. So this is just a mishmash of nonsense. I don't know why you would want to get involved here. I will say, the Wizards are pretty bad. I don't know why you would be laying points on the road with Washington when you don't have a true center playing for you at this point right now. However, I pride myself in, taking care of myself now, right? I'm a healthy individual.
Yes, you
now.
are.
So there's no way in hell that I'm watching this game or even caring about it for the most part. So it's been static pretty much all day. Open 3, 218.5. We're at 2.5, 219 over at DraftKings. I'm willing to bet that this is the lowest handled game on the board of the day. I'm talking I think the Catamounts probably got some more money on them than this game combined.
But Vermont better start stepping it up if they want to cover this spread, baby.
Yep. So anyway, easy to scratch that one off. Now, the interesting game that you did mention outside of the one that I have a bet on is Philadelphia at New York. Big thing is that the Knicks are finally getting healthy. OG Anunoby expected to make his return, had elbow surgery, had to recover from that. He is expected to be back on the floor today for the Knickerbockers, so that's pretty good because, of course, the Knicks have been pretty beat up here. Jalen Brunson, there was an injury scare. He eventually came back. OG Anunoby's been gone for quite a while now, just over a month. Still waiting on Julius Randle. But now that Anunoby's out there, it's going to be a boon here for the Knicks. And there's a couple of numbers that you need to know. With OG Anunoby on the floor, he improves the Knicks' net rating by 30.1 points every 100 possessions. That's an incredible figure. It's a small sample size, but incredible nonetheless. And they have a defensive rating of 99.5 in those possessions. So very good for New York. Now, on the flip side, Tyrese Maxey is going to play for the Philadelphia 76ers. Maxey hasn't played since March 3rd against Dallas, so that's a pretty big return here for this team if that's going to be the case. Knicks, so we saw it open 3.5. We're now up to 6 right now. That's obviously with the news that Anunoby's going to play. I actually think it's going to be Knicks here or pass, especially with Anunoby out there. You're not expecting too much from an offensive standpoint. Defense should remain relatively the same. It was an elbow injury, so it's not like he's going to come back a little tentative on a lower body injury or anything like that. So I think you're going to get the same defensive intensity from New York. I think the market's getting this right and kind of pushing this up. We're seeing a little late pushback. We're down to 5.5 in a couple of spots, but I do think that the Knicks are going to be pretty live here. By the way, as I mentioned too, Washington, Memphis, that moved down to 2 over at DraftKings, so and a couple of other spots. So maybe we're starting to see some movement in the Grizzlies' direction. But big game. And last but not least, Oklahoma City, as we mentioned, I just think it's a favorable spot there for Oklahoma City. You've been at home for just under a week right now. It's part of a 3-game homestand for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Jalen Williams is not going to play. That is official, so that's why you've seen this bump down from 6 to 5.5. But I still think when you have Lou Dort, you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 2 guys to defend that backcourt for the Indiana Pacers. And on the flip side, a guy in Shai that's going to be able to take advantage of a lot of poor on-ball defenders, given the fact that you're at home, especially with this long stretch, being able to practice, rest, sleep in your bed, all those sort of things before you head out on a small road trip. I think that this is a good spot for the Oklahoma City Thunder, who, by the way, 3rd best team in offensive efficiency since the All-Star break, taking on a team that ranks about 20th or so in non-garbage time defensive efficiency since they acquired Pascal Siakam. So late it with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
You mentioned Vermont. All kidding aside, the Catamounts, baby, only up 7 on New Hampshire as the winner goes to the America East Championship. A tradition unlike any other. Some think it's the Masters. I think it's the 11 a.m. start time on Saturday of the America East Championship, where Vermont basically is hosted every year. Even though they're only up 4 right now, they were a 16-point favorite earlier today. They get the winner of Bryant UMass Lowell. Well, so get excited.
Not gonna really work if you give up a transition bucket that easily. Death taxes and Vermont winning the America East. I think that's pretty much like the thing, right?
My guy John Becker has basically dominated that conference each and every year. And hopefully they can win a game one of these years in the NCAA tournament. Of course, they had Sorrentine from the parking lot many years ago. Gus Johnson famously on the call when they upset Syracuse. But haven't seen them win a game in the NCAA tournament since that 0-4 upset. As for tonight from college hoops, we talked about it earlier. The best game of the night, no doubt, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock local. I'll be there. Looking forward to it. Gonzaga, St. Mary's. Market starting to head back towards Gonzaga a little bit. Still threes out there. Some 3.5s at DraftKings and a couple other spots. I like the Zags. I'm laying attacks here. They've been playing exceptionally well. St. Mary's has been no slouch either, as JVT pointed out. But I do love just the form that Gonzaga is in. So I took a little future on them as well at 14-1 to make it to the Final Four. Laid the minus 155 on the money line with the Zags. But I do wonder if this game is an in-game opportunity type of game. Does St. Mary's come out with a quick start? Gonzaga has been phenomenal in second halves, JVT.
Yep.
Do they get off to a slower start tonight? We will see because, as JVT, you pointed out, it's going to be a very pro Gonzaga crowd. I'll run through a couple of the other games. Look, we're the power conferences that have started, it ain't pretty, the teams that are playing. Miami's getting some backing in the market. They are up to a 3-point favorite against Boston College. I don't know what will have more people in the attendance. Miami, Boston College at Capital One Arena in D.C. or any Wizards game, but it won't be very populated in that stand, in those stands. NC State, by the way, putting the finishes touches right now on Louisville. They won 94-85. So the Cardinals end the season with a cover. So good job.
There you go.
Because they are terrible. All right, we've got the MAC going on. That's MAAC. No thanks. We don't need to hit on the doldrums of that conference.
By the way, I wrote up the regular MAC. That's up on the website right now at VSiN.com if you want to check that out.
There you go.
VSiN.com/champ week, free VSiN Pro sub all week long.
VSiN.com is all free right now. The conference championship that we've been talking about, the Horizon League. Oakland and Milwaukee thought the market opened too high, and it did because it's down to 4.5, mainly fours out there with the Panthers against Oakland in this spot. This game tipping off neutral site in Indianapolis. If I didn't have my future, I would bet Milwaukee. I would take the +4. I think they're playing very well right now. Their 2 losses to Oakland were by 5 points at home, 100-95, and a double overtime loss, 81-77. Now, both those games happened in January, but I do think Milwaukee's playing at their best right now. So I would back Milwaukee in this spot. The CAA Championship, JVT, Stony Brook and Coastal Carolina. The Cougars are a 10-point favorite. They won this conference last year. They are a massive favorite to do so again here this evening. The Summit League Championship, the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State are a 10-point favorite against Denver. The Pioneers, who were the 7 seed, came back, much to my chagrin, in the quarterfinals against UMKC to win that game in thrilling fashion, 61-60. Held on to win last night as well, and the Pioneers will have to win I think 3 games in 4 nights here in order to get it done against South Dakota State. But an interesting one there. And then the other conference championship that will be handed out per Ken Palm, the worst conference in all the land, the NEC. Merrimack, the 2 seed, is laying 8 against Wagner with a poultry total of 119, JVT, in this one.
Poultry.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go really quickly.
Yes.
What I thought was interesting. You're going to get these instances a lot. The Seawolves of Stony Brook. This situation where you're playing your 4th game, right, in 4 days, is that a situation in which you come in and you try for a second half play on Charleston? Like, how does this manifest itself if we're talking about being taxed and having to win 4 games in 4 days and how hard it is? Is it a good first half and then you fall off in the second half? How do you approach it?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look. Stony Brook also had a double overtime game in there, too. So they played double overtime on Sunday, beat Hofstra yesterday. They've played a lot of minutes. They're playing this Charleston squad, whom they kept it close with back on January 6th. But yeah, I think that's why you're seeing the market move up, and maybe you do wait for a second half play on Charleston. That's JVT. I'm Tim Murray. Top of the hour, we run through all of the Power 5 conference tournaments. Still to come.